Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for giving such a wonderful standing ovation to Mrs. Miriam Rajavi. She deserves a standing ovation, because if anybody really has shown the courage, the leadership, the determination and the vision in relation to freeing Iran, it is Ms. Rajavi. And I hope that one day we're going to have a standing ovation when eventually we do have a free Iran. So I want to welcome each and every one of you to this conference today. What we're doing, in fact, is monitoring progress, whatever progress has been made, in relation to ensuring that together we restored in Iran a true democracy. And I am also sincerely grateful for the participation of some of the most distinguished American and European dignitaries. A few points. The disclosure of the assassination plot to assassinate this Saudi Arabian ambassador to the United States, a wake-up call for the Americans and the American government as to what these people are capable of. This particular act, which fortunately was headed off, is a sure sign that the Americans really have to take the whole threat of Iran and the whole humanitarian situation in Camp Ashraf very seriously indeed. Because confronting this regime, before all else, means that we have to take positive action and move the whole agenda forward. The deadline of the 31st of December is not a realistic deadline. And that's why we are calling on, first of all, the European Union as a whole, collectively, but secondly, the member states, the Council, the heads of state, the foreign ministers, to take decisive action, to highlight the fact that we need to extend the deadline for at least another 12 months. One of the most positive developments in recent week was the step taken by Baroness Catherine Ashton, her initiative to appoint a special envoy for Ashraf. I have met with Ambassador de Root. He's somebody with vast experience. On the international stage, he is very respected. He has been to the United Nations. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Have the pleasure of listening to the person that came to hear, Mrs. Miriam Rajavi. Thank you.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm delighted to be here again at the seat of democracy in Europe. The presence of personalities and elected representatives in the United States and Europe with us here today to discuss a solution for protection of residents of Ashraf and to end dictatorship in Iran symbolize the aware conscience of the world. The message of your presence here is loud and clear. The siege, crackdown, and blacklisting of the Iranian opposition, which is the last and the only solution to the Iranian problem, must end. And finally, the right of the Iranian people to resist and to overthrow dictatorship for their freedom must be recognized. Dear friends, 6 months have passed since the Iraqi forces attacked Ashraf at the behest of the Iranian regime. During this period, the mullahs have resorted to all sorts of attacks and pressures against the residents of Ashraf. That reflects the critical situation which the regime is facing. It feels threatened by growing public discontent in Iran and the wave of revolutions in the region. To escape from danger, the mullahs are in a rush to obtain nuclear weapons. At the same time, they have resorted to more terrorism. Last week, a major terrorist plot of the mullahs was foiled in Washington. They also lose no opportunity to attack Ashraf. 2 weeks ago, the NCRI revealed that at the behest of mullahs in Tehran, the Iraqi government is hindering the efforts of UN agencies. the Iraqi government wants to disrupt the UNHCR work to confirm refugee status of the residents. The Iraqis want to make this process subject to their demands, and to delay it, the resistance sources inside the mullah's regime have informed us of a joint plot by the Iranian regime and Iraqi government to attack Ashraf, which will lead to another massacre. Under the circumstances, the protection of the residents of Ashraf is a matter of urgency. In this respect, the recent decision by Baroness Ashton to appoint a personal representative for Ashraf is invaluable. On behalf of the Iranian people and resistance, I sincerely thank her. This achievement is the outcome of efforts led by Dr. Alejo Vidal-Quadras, as well as Mr. Strawn Stevenson and James Higgins. The Iraqi government, which acts at the behest of the mullahs, views the special envoy as an obstacle to its plan to destroy Camp Ashraf. As such, it is necessary that the special envoy speed up his efforts to protect the residents of Ashraf. Visiting Iraq is a step in this direction. It is also expected that, in addition to the European Parliament, member states and the European Commission use their resources to assist the EU Special Envoy to protect Camp Ashraf. We also ask the United States to support the mission of the EU's Special Envoy. We ask the United Nations Secretary General and the High Commissioner for Human Rights to take steps to station UN monitoring at Ashraf as soon as possible. I also ask Baroness Ashton, the UN Secretary General and the High Commissioner for Human Rights to voice protest over this dangerous deadline. I also ask the United States and the European Union to compel the Iraqi government to withdraw this deadline. The only way to counter the mullahs is to rely on the Iranian people and their resistance. The international community must side with the Iranian people by supporting this resistance and not to hinder their struggle. The people of Iran deserve a parliamentarian democracy and a republic based on separation of church and state. They deserve a society based on human rights without executions, and a society that respects gender equality, where women can have equal role in the political leadership of the country. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Under ordinary circumstances, it would be both an honor and a pleasure to be here. And it is certainly an honor to be here. But these are not ordinary circumstances. Do we have the political will to act? What is necessary is fairly clear. My own country's history here is something of which, up until today, I can't say that I'm terribly proud. In 2003, the United States led a coalition that went into Iraq. They confronted the residents of Ashraf, who voluntarily surrendered their weapons, and received in writing a guarantee from a United States general that they would be treated as protected persons under the Fourth Geneva Convention. They received from the military identity cards, each one of them, with a photograph and a written guarantee that that person would be treated as a protected person under the Fourth Geneva Convention. They were interviewed by the FBI, whose former director is here and who will address you, who found that none of them, not one of the residents of that camp, posed a threat to the United States or to anyone else. Regrettably, my government back in the 1990s, for reasons having nothing really to do with the reality of the situation, but having to do with politics, put MEK on a list of terrorist organizations because it was thought that doing so would enhance our ability to interact and conduct a dialogue with the mullahs. Well, that strategy has obviously failed. And even in the administration in which I served, they were kept on the list for fear that if they were taken off, the Iranians might support Iraqi terrorists who were using weapons to kill U.S. troops. And yet, it is clear that the Iranians have supported those troops, have sent IEDs into Iraq, and are helping to kill U.S. troops. I have here a copy of the complaint that was issued in the case against the perpetrators of the latest outrage planned for the United States, which was the assassination of the Saudi ambassador and the bombing, as was mentioned, of embassies in Washington. We keep having before us evidence, and we keep refusing to act. We have evidence of what the Iranians are up to, what the Iraqis are up to, and we have eloquent evidence here from Mrs. Rajavi herself of what MEK in fact is and what MEK stands for. Under these circumstances, I urge you, I implore you, to urge your governments to act for removing the deadline, for putting pressure on the Iraqi government, as I will implore my government, to end the designation. We have been warned, we have evidence. The only thing necessary is to bring to bear political will. And that is what you are here to do, that's what I'm here to do, that's what we're all here to do. And I urge you to please do it. Thank you very much.